All right, everyone, welcome back to another Fwoosh video breakdown. Today we are putting our attention on Star Wars, particularly the Star Wars Black Series 6-inch deluxe Wampa versus Hoth Luke Skywalker set. This is a part of the second assortment of the deluxe series sets that also include Han Solo and his Tauntaun. Now, it has been a while since the Speeder Bike Scout and the Jabba the Hutt sets have been released, but it looks like this next wave is getting ready to hit within the next month or so, but we wanted to take a few minutes today to give you a quick preview of the set. So with the set, you are obviously going to get the kind of the star of the show, the deluxe Wampa figure, along with the Hoth Luke Skywalker. Now, these are out of the package, but there are package pictures up at thefwoosh.com right now where you can see that in this set, Luke is actually displayed hanging upside down in the package, just like he is in that pivotal scene in the cave on Hoth at the very beginning of The Empire Strikes Back. So kudos to the packaging team for giving us that little Easter egg. It's kind of a nice fan nod. But with the set, you get the two figures as well as Luke's trusty blaster and his lightsaber with detachable lightsaber blades. So this is what you're going to get with this set. You know, before we kind of got Jabba by himself, as well as a figure with a vehicle, but getting a deluxe figure as well as a main character is kind of a cool way to do the sets as well. So let's take a look at each one of them individually. First, we're going to concentrate on the actual Wampa, since, like I said, he's kind of the star of the package. So the figure, as you can see, he's pretty big. He stands pretty tall above Luke Skywalker, which, as far as I can tell, that puts him pretty much in scale with the regular Black Series figures. He's heavy, I can tell you that right now, and he does offer, you know, a really good amount of articulation over most of the figure. He's got, you know, the partial ball jointed shoulders, the hinge and twist elbows, or elbrows, as you know they've come to be known. He's got hinge wrists as well as, you know, ball thighs with the twist, the hinge and swivel knees, ankles that are on a ball joint, so he does have rocker ankles. He's got actually two spots on his abdomen where he has articulation, so that's kind of cool. It allows him to bend over a bit, and you know, even though he's heavy, he can hold his poses pretty well. He does have kind of a ball jointed head as much as he can get. It is limited by the sculpt, as you can probably expect, but you know, it gets a pretty good range of movement for such a large figure. Now, the one place that I'm going to nitpick him a little bit in the articulation game is right here on his right shoulder. As you can see, it's not a ball joint like on the left side. It's just the regular hinge, because this figure does have a removable right arm. As many of you can probably guess, this is because this is the arm that Luke actually cuts off of the Wampa when he escapes captivity in his cave and makes a run for it. So this is a cool little nod to the scene, and I kind of like that you can detach the arm to recreate it, but you know, I don't know why they sacrificed the joint to make the arm removable here, because you could have just as easily had made an arm that's on a partial ball like this removable and maintain the joint but still create the effect. Now, I get that maybe, you know, the thinking was that with a lightsaber you'd come straight down, cut the arm off cleanly like this, but since this giant peg is sticking out of the arm here, it kind of already gets rid of the aesthetic of it and doesn't make it completely, you know, true to Star Wars life. So to me, I would just assume have the ball joint on there as well, and the peg, but you know, your mileage may vary on that. Personally, I always go for the articulation, and especially in a spot like this where the effect could still be achieved with the joint, I kind of wish they kept it. He's got a really, really nice sculpt. As you can tell, since he's furry, he's kind of sculpted, his fur's sculpted in clumps, not unlike Chewbacca. And also like Chewbacca, the fur pieces hang down over the separate pieces of the body to help kind of disguise the articulation joints. So I kind of like that, because it gets rid of the articulation feel to the figure and makes him a little bit more streamlined, and as he appeared in the movie. He does have some nice coloration going from fairly light, in the places that wouldn't get dirty as much on the top of his head and his shoulders, on down into his hands where his fur is really kind of a sickly yellow color, just as you imagine that it would probably be. I do wish that there was a little bit more bright white on the figure, just because I know that when he first attacks Luke, he definitely, in the face especially, he looks really bright white, but as you can tell by the blood that's painted on his mouth, this is after the attack when he's, having his tauntaun snack. So, the coloring is actually really, really nice. The paint on the face and where the blood lines are, they're about what you've come to expect from the Black series. There hasn't been a series that has had great paint applications, in my opinion, since the first series. But, the places around the eyes and the horns could use a little bit more paint to bring out the details. It's not bad. It's these bloodlines that kind of bother me the most. It looks really unnatural, but they do create the effect, so I wouldn't harp on it, too badly. So the Wampa is definitely the star of the set, and he's a great figure. I'm really thrilled that we've gotten him. I don't actually have a tauntaun yet to compare him to as far as size or weight goes, but compared to Jabba, who's a rotocast figure, this guy's heavy, he's solid, all of his joints work great. So I hope that if they're going to do bigger figures, like the Wampa in the future, that they kind of follow this model and give us all this articulation as well as a nice solid sculpt, because he turned out really, really nice in my opinion. With him, of course, comes the Hoth Luke Skywalker. This is as he appeared when he was out on patrol, riding his Wampa at the very beginning of The Empire Strikes Back. Overall, he's a pretty good Luke Skywalker figure. He keeps in scale well with not only the Wampa, but also the other previously released Luke Skywalker figures, as well as the other Star Wars Black figures. So he does capture scale pretty well. His sculpt overall is nice. I think all the details and folds and wrinkles in his jacket and his sleeves and his pants and down on his shoes are executed really well. So that's good. For his articulation, it's pretty standard for a Black Series figure. The one thing about him, though, that he's missing in comparison to other Luke Skywalker figures is that he doesn't have any wrist articulation, like none at all. He's got some cuts that will allow for twists up here at the top of his gloves, but his actual wrists themselves don't have any articulation. So you can get, some pretty good lightsaber poses with him, but without that articulation, it makes some of them a little difficult to achieve. So I kind of wish that they would have kept those wrist articulation points right there, because the scheme kind of follows more what I would think the 3 3/4 figures would have rather than the 6-inch Black figures, but it's not bad. He does have, as you can see right here, the only soft goods in the set is this little flap that comes down from his hat that is used to cover up his mouth out in the snow. So like I said, he can hold his lightsaber fairly well even without the wrist articulations. The blade is removable, as we've come to expect with just about all lightsabers in the Black Series line. The saber hilt does have its loop on it, and it can hook right on to his belt right here. He does have his blaster, which we've seen a couple of times. So, it's a nice sculpt. It's serviceable, and it's representative of what we actually see in the movies. And what I like when a figure has multiple accessories is that they're actually able to hold and keep those multiple accessories. So Luke does have his holster for his blaster. It's fully functioning. You can slide it right in, close the flap, and you can hold on to it very, very nicely. So that's a nice touch, and it's always good to have. And I think this is an important Luke Skywalker figure. He's definitely an interesting one. He's going to complement the Han Solo that comes with the tauntaun very, very well. So it really is a pretty decent figure. Not my favorite one. I think the Jedi Luke is still my favorite one, followed up by the X-Wing pilot. But this one is very serviceable in comparison to most Star Wars Black figures. You can see in his face as well. He's got some of the scratch lines that he gets from the Wampa. His face is painted okay. It's not great. If you look at the close-up pictures on thefwoosh.com, you can see that the eyes on this particular one are a little wonky, so I may have to correct the eyes on this figure, or have a a gifted painter fix them for me, but it's kind of a drag when the face details don't turn out as nicely as, say, the details on his, medals and things that are on his arm and on his chest. But, that's kind of a small nitpick when you're kind of looking at him at regular scale, that it doesn't stand out quite as badly as it does in the up-close pictures. So this is the Hoth Luke Skywalker and Wampa deluxe set. It's getting ready to ship soon. I know Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth both have this up for pre-order, and they're listing that it's going to start dropping in June. So go ahead and get your pre-orders in now, because I think that even if you weren't a fan of, say, the Jabba set before, you're probably going to like this Luke and Wampa set. The only real quibbles I have, again, the paint continues to be a little bit of an issue, and there are a few articulation things like on the Wampa's shoulder and Luke's wrists, but overall it makes for a really solid set. It's very enjoyable, and it's something that you can actually use to recreate a scene, so that's always fun. So there's a full review over at thefwoosh.com as well. It's written with lots and lots of pictures, so go over there and check that out. Give us a like on this video, subscribe, and give us a comment. Let us know what you think of the set, and until next time, keep on fwooshing.